What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Battlefield 6 gun guide. In today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the stats of the brand new LMG that was added with Season 2. This is the M121 A2, based on the MG5 A2. And then toward the end of the video, I'll share a couple excellent attachment combinations to try out. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our raw power potential, and this gun has a rate of fire of 654 rounds per minute, and it's going to be a 3 to 5 shot kill depending on our range. And it's worth noting, this is the fastest firing 3-shot kill LMG in the game, meaning it also has the fastest time to kill to the body at just 183 milliseconds. That is a ridiculously fast time to kill, and that's just up close. It maintains an incredible time to kill potential across all of its ranges. Although when it comes to headshots, by default, up close headshots aren't doing anything for you. It'll still be a 3-shot kill. However, if you use the hollow point ammo, you can get a 2-shot kill now, for a 92 millisecond time to kill, which is an untouchable time to kill in this game. As for our range profile, this is very standard. It matches most of the other LMGs in the game, with just a couple exceptions in there. And looking at these time to kill values relative to the rest at various ranges, you can see just how much this really stands out, at least in the time to kill department. But of course, time to kill isn't everything. Let's have a look at our next stat, which is muzzle velocity. And unfortunately, this does have the lowest muzzle velocity in the LMG category at just 600 meters per second by default. So that is something that may hold you back if you're stretching your ranges out, especially against moving targets. As for hipfire, this is standard for an LMG, and that is to say that the hipfire spread isn't very good. However, with it only needing 3 hits to kill, and with its fire rate not being too insanely slow, unlike some of the other 3-shot kill LMGs, I find it's actually pretty good in the hipfire department, especially if you build in that direction. Obviously, you'll still have to control your engagement ranges accordingly, but if you do find yourself in the same room as somebody, I often find hipfiring is pretty decent with this. Now after that, let's have a look at recoil, and as you can see here, there's definitely some recoil, and when we put it up against the other LMGs, it technically has the most climb in the LMG category, and you can see a fair amount of spread in there as well as you continue firing the gun. So it's not a particularly accurate LMG, but in saying that, it's not like it's totally uncontrollable. I still feel like I can often stretch my ranges out. I might just have to tap fire a little bit and be a bit more careful with that recoil control. And generally speaking, relative to many other LMGs, I do try to control my engagement distances a bit more, so I generally try not to take extremely long-range fights. In either case, let's move on to our handling stats, and across the board, we're pretty standard for an LMG in this game. I mean, we have quite a slow reload time by default at 6.27 seconds, and even with the 50-round fast mag, it's still pretty slow at 5.55 seconds, so you do have to plan your reloads accordingly. And it is worth noting, our base aim down sight time is not too bad at 367 milliseconds. It really just depends on which attachments you're putting on there to determine what your aim down sight time ends up being though. And then finally, for the standard stats in this game, when it comes to our mobility, we just have normal mobility stats for an LMG, and that means our sprint speed and aim walking speed values are going to be slow relative to the other weapon classes. However, of course, if you pair this with support, you will get the proficiency that allows you to sprint at the normal speed rather than this slower speed. It doesn't do anything to help your aim walking speed though, that's gonna stay slow. And now that we have that covered, let's talk a little bit about REDSEC. And against 2 armor plates, this gun is going to be a 6 to 9 shot kill depending on the range, and this means our time to kill potential up close is really good. In fact, it's better than most of the SMGs in this game at point blank range when it comes to time to kill. And that time to kill is just 459 milliseconds. And then even at a distance at 734 milliseconds, that's also a solid long-range time to kill for REDSEC. So as long as you're confident in hitting your shots, this appears to be quite a powerful option for REDSEC, at least when it comes to that raw killing potential. And there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for all of the important stats I wanted to cover with this new LMG. Now let's get into a couple excellent attachment combinations. Keeping in mind, I would say options are quite open for this gun. You can build it in a wide variety of ways. These are by no means the only 2 solid options that you can create, but they are some nice combinations that I've been enjoying so far. And the first one I've got for you guys is my headshot loadout. So with this, we're using the ROM 1.75 optic. That's just a nice clean optic with a little bit more zoom than I typically go with. Usually I just like a standard like 1x optic, but I like having a bit more zoom for some more precision here. For my suppressor, I've got these lightened suppressors, so I'm staying off the radar, and this helps with recoil recovery, which is quite nice. For our barrel, I'm rocking the heavy extended barrel on here, so it reduces spread while also increasing muzzle velocity up to 750 meters per second. For my underbarrel, I'm using the ribbed vertical because this is going to give us a decent amount of recoil control. It's going to cut down on that nicely. However, with this combined with the heavy extended barrel, it does make for a fairly slow aim down sight time at 433 milliseconds. However, we're treating this like an LMG, so that's okay. You're not going to be rushing around like crazy with this one. Then for our magazine, I'm using the 50 round fast mag, so we get a slightly faster reload time. In my eyes, the 100 round mag is just not worth the massive amount of attachment points that it costs, so I don't use that at all. And then finally, we're topping it off with hollow point. And this allows us to potentially get a 2-shot kill to the head up close, or even at a distance. If you just mix 2 headshots in with body shots, it will reduce the number of shots to kill, which can be quite helpful. So that's a nice solid option if you just want to be fairly accurate and killing very quickly and have that headshot potential without having insane mobility potential or anything. Like, you're not going to be playing super aggressively with this one. And that's where the second build comes in. This is my aggression build. And with this one, we're using the Mini Flex optic, so a lower zoom optic here. I really like that one. We have the 5 milliwatt green laser. That one's going to be helping a fair amount with our hipfire spread, combined with the CQB suppressor and the short barrel. So that combination of those 3 attachments makes for a really nice hipfire build, so if I do get myself in close quarters, I don't need to bother aiming down sights. One unfortunate downside with using the short barrel, though, is our muzzle velocity is reduced down to 480 meters per second, so this is definitely not designed to be used at longer ranges. You're going to have a hard time hitting moving targets at that point. And that helps a little bit with recoil, but it also helps with aim down sight time combined with the short barrel for a 300 millisecond aim down sight time. That's quite good for an LMG in this game. So even though you can hip fire effectively, if you really need to get aim down sight, you can do that quite quickly for an LMG at least. And then finally, we once again have the 50 round fast mag on there and the standard ammunition this time around. So there we go. Those are just a couple options for you guys to try out for playstyles that are kind of on each end of the spectrum. And that's where we're going to wrap up today's gun guide. And when it comes to my overall thoughts on this LMG, I think it's very good. Now, obviously at range, it's not going to be quite as good as many of the other LMGs due to the recoil and the low base muzzle velocity. So it definitely has its limitations, and I wouldn't consider it to be the most versatile LMG. But if you're just keeping yourself at close to medium ranges, which is very easy to do on most maps, you can absolutely dominate with this gun due to its really fast time to kill potential. And so far, I've really been enjoying this LMG. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the M121 in those comments down below. And if you guys have missed any of the previous gun guides, including the new AR that came with Season 2, the VCR2, I did cover that one. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. And if you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.